All right, we're live. We are live, straight from the stadium. Texans get a dub, and that was a big one. They needed that W. Do not minimize that W. This Texans team, it's not perfect. It hasn't been enjoyable all season long, but and the situation they're in, the situation they put themselves in coming off of the bye week, they needed that dub, and they got that dub. And to me, like the immediate theme of this, it is the Locker Room, number one source for Texans digital content. This is the top post game show right here. We do this after every game. You can see me live 10:30 p.m. You can also see me in the morning on SNL with Cody Stutz. By the way, we got a treat for you. Hang around, SNL special postseason edition. We're going to take this party to the SNL channel. We're almost 1,500 deep in less than a week on that. We're going to take it there. So we're going to get some Cody Stutz post game. So we got a surprise for you there. Be sure to subscribe for that. But my overall thoughts on this game, we'll hear from DeMeco. We'll hear from CJ in a second. We'll get into everything that's going on with the Texans and everything going on there. But my overall thoughts of this game was the Texans coming into this game. They said, this is going to be a lean on strength game. We're going to lean on our strengths. We're going to figure out how to lean on our strengths. You heard DeMeco Ryan say that, and you heard Nick Caserio say that. And to me, this was a game where they leaned on their strengths. They 100% leaned on their strengths. The defense and special teams carried this game home. And look, that's not the worst thing that can happen. That's not a knock on the offense, but you look at the offense was pedestrian. You had situations where the defense puts you in position to capitalize, and the offense, they took advantage of those opportunities for the most part. And that's what you're going to have to do. So the formula for this dub was defense and special teams plus CJ Stroud and Nico Collins in the red zone. And we'll react to what's going on with Denver and Indianapolis right now. You have an opportunity to perhaps win the division today, which we'll keep a really, really close eye on as well. You're one game away from that. But there were three situations where the defense and special teams put the Texans in a really, really good position. One of them was Will Anderson when he had his strip sack of Tua, which gave the Texans the ball at the 28. And shortly after that, CJ was able to connect with Nico on third down for 7. Then you had the situation at the end of the first half, which I think was kind of symbolic of where the Texans offense is. They had no desire to even attempt to get points. It was kind of awkward when they got the first down. And then you had the fumble by CJ Stroud. Kalen Bullock gets the interception. He gives them the ball at the 5-yard line on the return, and the Texans come away with 3 points. So that's 10 points from the defense. Then you had the special teams play, the fake punt, where Dare Gumbawale takes it inside the red zone. There's the brief scare of the fumble. However, there's a penalty on the Dolphins, and the Texans get the ball at the 5, and CJ finds Nico again. That right there is 17 points of the points that the Texans scored. 17 points the Texans scored on very short field as a result of defense and special teams. That's 17 out of 20. They weren't asked to put together drives. So when we talk about leaning on the strengths, I think it's very clear that this defense can be elite. Derek Stingley, by the way, is elite. And the offense just has to capitalize in the red zone. And that was what Nick Caserio said a couple weeks ago when I asked him for specifics as to what this ball club needs to do. He said they need to be better in the red area. Took advantage twice. Is this going to be one of the best offenses in the NFL? The answer is no. But this can be one of the best defenses in the NFL. You got elite guys on the edge. Will Anderson with the strip sack. Daniil Hunter, another sack and a half. Derek Stingley, 2 more interceptions. And Derek Stingley right now is the best corner in the league. Derek Stingley is playing better than any other corner in the NFL right now. And that second interception might be the best one that we've ever seen from a guy that's had an array of impressive plays on the ball over the course of his career. I said he's got the ball skills of a porn star. That's what Derek Stingley's got. And he's doing his thing. He's playing elite. And I thought that was one of the biggest takeaways. And everybody's talking about all-pro Sting. We'll hear from Tim Settle. We'll hear from Kalen Bullock. We'll hear from other guys in the SNL portion when we head over there. But this defense is elite, and this defense carried them to a dub that they needed very badly. And you weren't just dependent on the offense. And the offense did what they needed to do when given those opportunities. There was a big drop by John Mechie as well. The receivers aren't good. Odell Beckham Jr. probably makes that catch. Just saying. He probably makes that catch. I would think so. I would think OBJ would catch that. Probably, right? Is that fair to say? I'm not trying to do that right now. It is the Locker Room post-game show. I am Landry Locker here. No more porn star analogies. It's a perfect porn star analogy. All skills of a porn star. What that is. 5-minute timeout for that. Derek Stingley, I'm sure he was one of the main topics. Let's hear from DeMeco Ryans. DeMeco Ryans, he talked about leaning on strengths. We'll summarize the game as well. But let's hear what DeMeco Ryans had to say after the game live Locker Room post-game show.
All right. First off, I'd like to just start off by just giving all praise, honor, and glory to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for just continuously blessing us. It's a huge honor to get to do what we do. And also for me, his prayers go out to Grant Dubose. Really seeing a guy down on the field like that is very hard to see. And we're just praying that all is well with him and that he recovers quickly as possible. Just overall for this game, just defensively, our guys stepped up and did a really good job of closing out the game the way we needed to. Stingley is playing just unbelievable football right now. You ask him to cover, man covers to go and get 2 picks versus a really good offense. That was huge for us. Kalen stepped up with the pick as well. Our D-line, the way they rushed, Will, Daniil, they continue to wreak havoc on the opposing offenses, playing on their side of the line of scrimmage. Just overall to our entire defensive secondary, I thought the guys did a great job in coverage versus defense. An explosive offense. Just executing the right way and everybody playing together, swarming. Really proud of Christian Harris for stepping up. And long battle back from injury, but he stepped up and he was able to go out and play quality football for us. Henry stepping in for Aziz did a really great job of running the show, communicating. Just really proud of the effort. Offensively, CJ, Nico, that connection is outstanding. Again, for those guys connect, get 2 touchdowns, and for our offense to get points off of the turnovers. That was the huge thing for us. Just so excited for our guys, proud of the way they finished the game. That's been a big emphasis for us, is finishing games. No matter how it looks, it's finishing, and proud that they finished the right way.
DeMeco, at what point did you all decide to have Stingley shadow? Was that before the game, in the middle, and second from that, how important was it to get a win in the way you were?
Stingley was just moving around pretty much however they lined up. We have game plan adjustments. Of course, we made some adjustment there when Waddle went out, right, knowing that Tyreek was their most explosive guy. So that would be in our best interest to make sure our best cover guy was on their best receiver.
DeMeco, you claimed earlier this week that you didn't know the clinching scenario, but regardless, the focus was on Miami.
I do not know. You get something to share.
Well,
He is not telling the truth. He knows the clinch scenario. Look at that face. He ain't telling the truth. Come on, DeMeco.
I will tell you, with a Colts loss today, you guys would clinch the AFC South for a second straight year. To take care of business and to now put yourself in that position, just how nice is that, especially so early in the season like this?
Yeah, the mindset for us is always control what we can control. And for us today, just how can we go out and play good football, complementary football versus the Dolphins. And that's what won the game for us. It was complementary football. It's, I talked about it earlier, getting the points off of the takeaways. Also, probably the biggest play in the game is the execution of our fake punt. Jake Hansen, Darray, the entire punt unit did a really nice job of just executing that the right way. We got the look we wanted, and guys were on it. Frank did a great job of having those guys ready to go in that moment, and they made a huge play for us. I thought our punt return unit did a really great job of handling their speed on the outside to give Tank and Rob time to get started with some of the returns. So just collectively as a team, that's what it looks like, especially in the month of December, playing complementary football.
DeMeco, and this is say very respectfully, after the Bose injury situation, did you feel like the defense became a little bit tentative on a couple of snaps to try to get back into the groove? Because it seemed like they seemed a little bit tentative to want to really start putting shots on guys, particularly on the plays that looked like they could have been. They just sort of let off a little bit, and that's saved real respect now.
Yeah, when that happens, when you see a player go down the way he did and how long he was on the field, I think everybody, you could use just the NFL brotherhood, like it's instant just respect and prayers are up, making sure he's okay, right? And he gets up and he has a speedy recovery. And I think all of our guys, you felt that energy leave the entire stadium. It left our sideline and theirs as well, and rightfully so. Like anytime, I never want to see anybody go down on the field, especially in that manner. And our guys, of course, I think the energy was low for everyone there, and our guys were able to, pick it up there towards the end.
Well, DeMeco, in the first half, when you had the 4th and 2, some of us were wondering, well, gee, why did we not go for the first down there instead of the field goal? But after seeing the fake punt and the 35-yard gain for the first down in the second half, was that part of the scheme, just maybe to lull them to sleep and make them think you wouldn't consider a fake? Or did it just turn?
Wasn't the other one a field goal? So you kicked the field goal and then didn't go for the punt, so that was to lull them to sleep?
Out that way.
Yeah, it wasn't to lull them to sleep, not at all. I think it was just a well-executed play. Like when you have plays like that.
Early in a game, trying to score the first points of the game, if I'm not mistaken, and be thinking about a fake punt.
It's about how trustworthy are the guys who you're asking, right, to execute those plays. And Darray is one of our most trustworthy players on our team, and is putting the ball in his hands right there. It came through big for us. And the blocking, like I don't want to lose sight of that. The way the guys blocked to create such a huge lane for him, it's excellent execution.
We'll take these last two. The Dolphins were obviously, desperate to keep the playoff hopes alive. And Joe Mixon talked earlier this week that you all were desperate. Did you kind of sense that from your team throughout this game, that they were playing with the desperation that they really needed to play well?
I felt our team, like, throughout this week, getting back from the bye and just throughout this game, I felt like our team was calm and confident. And that's where we have to be. It's, we don't panic, or we don't lose our minds in the chaos that's in front of us. And for us, if we remain calm and we just play together and focus on what we can control, and we'll be in a good spot. So that desperation piece is every week in NFL. Everyone is desperate to win. But even though you're in desperation mode, you still have to go out, execute, and remain calm.
DeMeco, do you think that, would you say that Derek Stingley Jr. is the player of the game, of the week, of your career?
Of my career, that's a good one. No, he's Stingley. He's thank you for the question. Again, he's definitely, to me, that play he makes there to end the game in 2 minutes. That's a big time play, and not a lot of players can do that. So I know all the games aren't over, but I think he's very deserving of player of the week, player of the month. He's done an outstanding job of just, when teams even try to challenge him, like, he's going to go get the football, right? And can't be more proud of Sting just for what we ask him to do. He steps up every week. No matter what we ask him to do, he steps up, and he continues to grow as a player and pro and make the plays we need to make. And there's not a better play I've seen than that play he made today. All right, thank you, guys.
All right, there you go. That's DeMeco Ryans at the podium speaking on the game. I mean, Derek Stingley right now, he's been your best player. And I mean, you can make a case that Will Anderson's been your second best. And you can throw Danielle Hunter in there. This is a defensive team. And I don't say that in like the worst way. you can only do so much in certain off seasons. They set out to fix the defense. They brought in major pieces on the D line. They drafted a corner. They drafted a safety. They brought in Alshire and they paid him. And on offense, they basically they brought in Stephon Diggs, which was a big move, and they signed Joe Mixon, which you had to because you had to replace your starting running back in Singletary. It'll be interesting to see next year what they look like when they set out to fix the offense, which I think is going to be the overall goal. But they did an elite job on this defense. The question, and we're going to swarm the super chat, David White, goddamn jokes. You ain't never hate. Swarm. Landry in the locker room with that 1970s 5 o'clock shadow porn stash today. Yes, I am. Little mix up, man. Little mix up never hurt anyone. Collectibles ass, appreciate you, David. You think our defense can carry us to the Super Bowl? I mean, I don't know. I think it's a Super Bowl caliber defense. I do think that. Now, can the offense take advantage of opportunities? Whenever the offense is called upon and the offense has to carry the majority of the responsibilities, will the offense be able to do it? That's the question. Because the defense has given the offense a lot of opportunities this year that the offense hasn't been able to capitalize on. And then there's times where the defense late in the game is asked to do almost too much because the offense doesn't take advantage. Like in the pre-bye, like there's a chance that when Will Anderson gets the strip sack and gives the offense the ball inside at the 28-yard line, they don't score a touchdown there. When Frank Ross dials up a perfect fake punt and you get the ball at the 5, they don't score a touchdown there. They settle for 3. So do I think that this defense can carry them to a Super Bowl? I mean, I wouldn't bet on it. That's kind of hard to do. But do I think this is a Super Bowl caliber defense, especially once you get Azeez back out there with Harris and Harris gets his groove going and you have Stingley and Lassiter and DeMeco calling the defense and the guys on the edge and the guys on the interior? I do think this is a good enough defense to a Super Bowl caliber defense. I think this defense is as good as it can possibly be. I don't think that they've played as good as they have. But would I say this team wins the Super Bowl? No. I think the offense is extremely flawed. And I think we kind of saw it a little bit. But I do think that this is a championship caliber defense. 100%. So we'll see how that goes. Keeping an eye on the Denver Broncos. Broncos right now, 4th and 5 at the Indy 26. This is just kind of a pillow fight. They just kicked a field goal. So it's 13-10 there with 5:18 left in the third. We'll keep you updated through that when we're live on SNL. And if you haven't subscribed to the SNL channel, do so. A lot of people have done it. We'll go over there. We'll see if we're talking about division or not and how that changes things. But right now, the Broncos are 3 points down on the Indianapolis Colts. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on, and we'll see if they can handle that business. See if they can handle that business, because that would be a hell of a break for the Texans to where, and I'm saying this right now, the ideal scenario for me is you win the division and Joe Mixon doesn't play against Baltimore. I think Joe Mixon needs some rest. We saw Joe Mixon go down today. They weren't able to run the ball, and Mixon got banged up. A lot of people kind of fed up with the toss play. I understand. Mixon today, though, 12 carries for 23 yards. Your leading rusher was Dare Gumbawale, and he did that on a fake punt. So not great on offense. So we'll see how that whole thing goes. But it's gonna be interesting to see how the offense handles their business post-bye when they're asked to do something. Speaking of that offense, before we summarize the play, and be sure to subscribe, like, right along. Best Texans coverage in the game. And we'll hear from Cody Stutes a little later on when we go to the SNL party. But right now, let's hear from C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud, statistically, not ideal. Quite frankly, the C.J. Stroud stat line, it kind of looks like that of like a Trent Dilfer. or a Brad Johnson. That's what happens when you have good defenses. You're not asking CJ Stroud to light it up. He did what he needed to do. Quite frankly, he made some plays that those guys have never made, even at the Pee Wee level. That across the body to Tank today was incredible. That first Nico Collins pass, incredible. Making plays with his legs might just be a situational thing where CJ just has to figure it out. I think eventually you can get to where you have an elite offense. It's just not the case right now. This guy can make elite plays when you need it. He did that today. That's why the Texans are a Colts loss away from winning the division. Let's hear from the man himself, CJ Stroud, live here in the Locker Room Postgame Show. Take it away, CJ.
Hey, CJ.
Good on you.
Derek Stingley, 2 picks.
Yeah.
We'll understand, big strip sack. Can you talk about the playmakers you have on defense? Seems like that side of the ball, guys can also really change the game in a hurry.
Yeah, first I just want to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for this opportunity, to play on this great Sunday after a bye week, against a really good Miami team. And, Sting is one of a kind, bro. His ball skills and how he can play the ball in the air is the best I've ever seen in my life. Like I would compare him to Garrett Wilson, who I played with in college, who can just track the ball in any way and then twerk his body to get to catch it. So he reminds me of him catching the ball. And honestly, I'm trying to get him a play on offense one of these days. I think he's that good with the ball in his hands. So, I'm really happy for him and, just proud of him and everything he's doing.
Has he lobbied to play receiver or anything like that with your coaches?
He don't really talk much, so I know I always joke with him, but he don't really say. He just kind of like, say nothing. Not too many words out of Sting, but yeah.
CJ, obviously, you knew that this season was going to be tougher because you were playing a first place schedule, and of course, a whole lot more tape on you. But you're sitting here now at 9-5. The Colts lose the late afternoon game for the second year in a row. You wrap up the AFC South. How good of a feeling is that, and how do you feel about where this team is?
They haven't won the AFC South yet.
Yeah, we're at. I think we work really hard to get to this point. The one thing that I'm learning is not to dwell in the past, and to, of course we wish that, we won some closer games that we were in, but same time, those are the adversities that'll take us over the hump. And I feel like, today we took another step, to play for the division. This early, in December is kind of cool and not have to wait to the very back end. So, yeah, man, I really, of course want to win the division today, but if not, we go back next week and we chop some more wood and carry some more water.
Chop some wood.
CJ, I know probably like a point of emphasis might have been like making sure you walk the offense catches in on turnovers. You all did that largely today. How important did you feel like that was, and what did you feel like was key to being able to do that a lot better today?
Yeah, that was a focus of mine, that we have to learn how to score touchdowns off of turnovers, but, more importantly, just points in general, just getting points. And, we're able to do that, I think, on every turnover, even the fake that we ran on 4th down, which I thought was a great call by Frank. Shout out to Frank and them boys. And Weeksy on the great snap. But, it's complimentary football, our defense getting turnovers like that and be able to reward them. And, I feel like we definitely could have been better in a lot of ways, but, happy with the win and, got to just move on.
You've been without Stephon for some time now. When you kind of think back and reflect, what are some of the biggest challenges that you guys have faced without Stephon, and how are you trying to handle those?
Really just his energy is the main thing that pops out to me. Just who he is as a person, how much he loves the game, his preparation. Those are things that we all miss of him, and I talk to him every week and, try to just encourage him, that's not an easy thing to go through. But, he's in good spirits, he's rooting us on, and I have so much love for that dude, man, and I know hopefully I can play with him again because I think we were just getting started, and, I'm just really, 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 really just proud of him and how he's growing just in his faith and, and just who he is maturing just as a man. And, sometimes those valleys do that to you. And I'm just proud of him to be able to respond like he is.
Well, CJ, of course, now you're on a short week. Saturday, you go to Arrowhead to take on the Chiefs. 13-1 is their record, but as we all know, they've had really, really close games. You've got to have a really good feeling about the possibility of going up there and grabbing a W away from them.
Yeah, a lot of respect for those guys, back-to-back champs, and, Mahomes is definitely the best in the league, doing it at a very, very high level every year, somebody that I look up to. Just excited to go and line up against them and have opportunity to play in an environment like that. I heard it's crazy, so I'm excited for it. But it's not ever going to be a cakewalk. That dude is really good. Kelsey, somebody I really respect.
I don't think anyone thought it
Defense
was
is
going to be a
very,
cakewalk.
I would say underrated. They've kept him in a lot of games and won a lot of games for him and helped him, get turnovers and keep the offense to I think like under 20 points, I believe. But it's a lot of respect for them and excited for that challenge.
CJ, how do you feel like y'all handled the switch with having Titus at left guard and then elevating Blake to right tackle as far as communication went?
Yeah, I thought it went great. I thought with Titus not really practicing there all week, he stepped in and
We'll
did
get
his best
into
he
this,
could, and
too.
I thought he did really great. I thought that was one of the best interior D lines that we played this year. I think 92 is very underrated. He's a dog, and Calais is, like the Terminator. He's huge. He's like 6'7", and and he's putting his hands up. He's really good. So that interior does a really good job, and their D line coach, hats off to him. They do a good job of pick stunting and things like that. But when the time was there, I feel like they did a great job picking those up, and I was able to deliver in those instances. But
Yes,
I
you
definitely
were.
think that they did
Yes,
a
you
great job.
were.
And for Blake to step in like a young guy is amazing. All right.
All right, there you go. CJ Stroud live at the podium. Swarm in the super chat here in a sec. We'll recap the game. Space City, shout out to you.
Swarm.
Sting would be a better wide receiver 3 than what we have. I would not disagree. The wide receiver depth down is crazy. And it's really nuts. Like when you're looking at these other games and you're kind of scoreboard watching. And right now, Denver has the ball in Indianapolis territory. God, Indianapolis sucks. You look at it and it's like the Bills right now, for example, like Johnson's leading them in receiving, and even Miami today, with all their limitations, which a lot of that has to do with quarterback. Like you see all these other guys making plays. The Texans, Tank Dell is not producing at the wide receiver position. By the way, Tank Dell needs to be a full-time punt returner. He's a complimentary receiver, full-time punt returner that can make plays. But yeah, it's a rough go skill position wise. And Dalton Schultz is awkward to watch. That's an awkward watch out there with him. There's just not a lot of weapons. But yeah, CJ said it right. They're gonna have to take advantage of the opportunities that they have. And they did today. Jake Eubank says, I bet Mahomes is a no-go next week. That would be cool for the Texans, especially if Indianapolis pulls it off, because that would mean the dub gets them the dub. And then the Baltimore game, rest everyone. I've said this from the very beginning, rest everyone. Don't take advantage of the situation. If you're able to do so, go ahead and do that. Lawson, you can tell he's swarming the super chat. You can tell he's a big-time viewer. Shout out to you, my friend.
You ain't never hate. Swarm.
He says, you think Nick and DeMeco, like what you did there, can fix the O-line in one offseason like they did the defense? Based on Casario's history with offensive line draft free agency makes me think no. Go X and go Broncos. Yeah, I don't know if they're going to be able to set out to fix the offensive line in one offseason. I think they need skill position talent too. I think that's as much of a thing as anything. But as far as fixing the offensive line, I don't know. And that's where we'll start as we recap this whole thing and everything that went on with the Texans. And we'll keep you updated on the Colts and the Broncos as well. Broncos now at the Indy 42. It's 3rd and 11. 13-10 is the score there. But that was the big news over the weekend. Aaron Wilson had the news. Shout out to Aaron with the news. We give him a hard time whenever he's extra late. But, yeah, he had this one. Titus Howard gets the start at guard. I thought this was the right move. Like, we've been talking about this for a while. He's not an elite right tackle. You might be paying him like one, but he's not. He's not much worse at guard than he is tackle. I don't think there's as much of a drop off. I think that was strongly exaggerated. He's a roller coaster at both, but when it comes to the pass blocking, he's an upgrade at left guard. Now, if Titus Howard were an elite right tackle, you wouldn't move him around. Like, you're not moving Laramie Tunsil around in any scenario. But he's not an elite right tackle, and right now the strength of Titus Howard is his versatility And this is where it calls. This is not like some sort of emergency situation. I'm sure that's how they sold it to him, and I'm sure that's how they say it. The reality is, if he were an elite right tackle, they're not doing this. So I thought this was the right move. I thought Blake Fisher battled his ass off. And I think one of the plays of the game that really probably isn't getting as much attention as you would think. I think that Blake Fisher made one of those plays, which we'll get to in a second. Christian Harris also made his return today. Look, once Azeez comes back, and if Christian Harris can get to going close to what he was last year, that's a big thing. And I thought it was really encouraging that right off the top, he's on the field. Christian Harris gets his legs under him. This is a scary linebacking core. You already know you got a good D-line. Perhaps Tim Settle says the best D-line in the league. It's definitely one of the best. You got a really deep linebacking core, and then you got elite 1-2 corners as far as being a duo, and they're only going to get better. So there's a lot of reason for excitement when it comes to that, and with what the layout is of that situation. To the game, the game summary here in the locker room. First Swarm the Super. Nathan Palmer says at this point they have to elevate whatever wide receiver they have from the practice squad. You're talking about Wayne and you're talking about Johnson. Look, we'll get to the Mechie drop. I just don't think Odell Beckham Jr. is the craziest thing for this team. Is he better than Tank Dell? No, he's not going to impact Tank Dell. But when you talk 3 down and you talk about getting open, Hutchinson had a catch today, and it was almost like, oh, wow, where's he been? And it was a small catch. You saw Mechie make a catch. He dropped a play you got to make. If you're a number 3 receiver on a good football team, you got to make that play. He was unable to come away with that. Odell Beckham Jr. knows this system. He's washed up. Everybody says he's washed up. I agree. But he's making that play, and he's been there, done that. And with where this wide receiver core is, I don't think he's like some sort of distraction. Baltimore didn't say that. Miami didn't say that. I just think that if you can get an experienced guy that has playmaking ability, whether he's washed or not, with what this team currently is, when it comes to wide receiver depth, I just don't think it's the craziest thing in the world. But sometimes you get drug into arguments that have nothing to do with what you're talking about when it comes to the Odell Beckham Jr. situation. You get drug into, well, he's washed up. He's not what he once was. That's a fact. But on this squad, with knowing this system, all that, I just don't see how putting Odell Beckham Jr. out there in 3 and 4 wide receiver sets is the worst thing. The other thing is you have Dalton Schultz going out and running routes. And I'll be honest with you, Dalton Schultz, I like the guy. I don't mind talking to the guy, but I remember when I was a kid and my childhood dog, rest in peace, Rex, he lasted 14 years. Probably like a real good life for a golden retriever. But when he was in his prime, I mean, he was swimming by himself, like full laps. He was jumping over fences. He could run miles with me. We used to go like back in the high school days when you're going and jogging. He would jog 2 miles with me. But on the back end of his career and his life, man, every time he walked, you could hear his knees popping. He could barely get up the steps. That's what it looks like when Dalton Schultz runs routes. I don't know what it is. There's never been like explosive athleticism with Dalton Schultz. But, man, I almost feel like up in the press box, I can hear his knees popping when he goes out there. And we've had 2 games now where he's, like, grabbing his shoulder. Like, there is no explosiveness on this offense. So I don't think you can roll your eyes at anyone when it comes to, like, the Odell Beckham Jr. thing. And I don't mean this to be an Odell Beckham Jr. thing. The main point I'm making is the skill positions on this offense, like, the more the merrier. Figure something out. I mean, because as soon as Joe Mixon goes, you don't have confidence in any running back. You don't have confidence in any other receiver. The tight end position is absolute disaster. This is the worst the tight end position has ever been in the history of this organization. From a production standpoint, from an explosive standpoint. I mean, your offense is limited, and a big reason. I know we like to pick on the offensive line. We like to talk about the offensive line. We like to focus on the offensive line. But These skill position guys are not good outside of Nico Collins. And what you saw today was Jalen Ramsey following around Nico Collins, Jalen Ramsey making life hard for Nico Collins, and an offense that really couldn't move the ball. But fortunately, CJ Stroud and Nico Collins have elite talent, and they were able to out alpha Miami when it was time to knuckle up in the red zone. You didn't have to depend on your offense to sustain long drives. You got 2 drives that pretty much started on the 5 if you count the fake punt. Technically, that's a drive, but let's be serious. It was a fake punt. And then you had another drive that started on the 5 as a result of Bullock's interception. And then you had another one that started 28 as a result of Will Anderson's strip sack. You didn't need it. But they can use all the help they can get on offense. And you got an elite-ass defense that is able to pick up the slack. And that's the good news. This is a damn good defense. Extremely good defense. And it's fun to watch. So right off the top, the Texans had to settle for the field goal on the opening drive. Did you guys think DeMeco should have gone for it on 4th and 2? You had the kind of, it wasn't necessarily, I don't know if it was a wheel route or not. I would have to go back and look at it, but Mixon on the sideline, CJ throws it to him. He catches it out of bounds, and the Texans elect to go for 3. I'll say this. I have no problem with it. And I think it goes back to what DeMeco said, lean on your defense. And if you were going to make Tua look that uncomfortable, by the way, he's got a lot of Trevor Lawrence in him where he'll make plays that are just like, wow, how the hell did he do that? And then he'll miss throws where Tyreek Hill's wide open. They didn't even have the ability to take advantage of that. But that throw to Jonnu Smith, another throw to Jonnu Smith, they had the touchdown, you had the one across the middle. Tua will make throws that you're like, holy crap. And then he looks worse than Brock Osweiler at other times. But the Texans settled for 3 on the opening drive. I thought the play of the drive, it wasn't the opening pass to Joe Mixon. I thought the play of the drive was Blake Fisher recovering the fumble. Robert Woods moves the chains, and then on first down, they try to do a little screen pass to Robert Woods. He fumbles. Looks like there's like 6 Miami Dolphin players around it. Blake Fisher, though, able to recover the fumble and solidify that the Texans are going to get points in some way, shape, or form. Rather have 7, but you end up settling for 3. Would have been 0 had Blake Fisher not made that fumble recovery. And those were the only points the Texans scored that weren't on a short field. And that was amazing awareness from that young man right there to be able to recover that. I asked him about it after the game. He basically said that he blacked out. We'll hear that in the SNL live post-game show coming up in about 20 minutes. Another early thing that happened during the Texans dub today against the Miami Dolphins, Tank Dell was returning punts. And that's what Tank Dell needs to do. Tank Dell needs to be a punt returner. He needs to be a complimentary receiver. Another pretty quiet day production-wise for Tank Dell. He's had quite a few of those. Tank Dell, he needs to be returning punts. He's really good at it. And he's not a good enough receiver to where that should prevent you from doing that at all. And there we go. Just like that, the Broncos have taken the lead over the Indianapolis Colts. So we now have a Denver Broncos lead, and the Indianapolis Colts are going to have another comeback win like they did last week. So we'll keep you posted on that. But the Denver Broncos right now are leading the Miami Dolphins 17-13. How about that? Ain't that something? Bo Nix, 3 interceptions today, 2 touchdowns. Unbelievable. If the Texans can clinch this division and be able to not have to play against the Ravens. Dolphins tied the game. And I'm talking about the ISAP theory. We'll get into that a little later on. We got plenty of time. Dolphins tied the game with a 55-yarder. That made it 3-3. Then a scary moment. I don't know what all you were thinking, but whenever the Mixon went down, I just wondered how the hell are they going to run the ball. Fortunately for them, they didn't need to run the ball even with him. But Mixon, he was walking around after the game, seemed in good spirits, but he's definitely banged up. He's definitely banged up. Someone's saying, about the Baltimore Ravens thing. My point is you avoid playing 3 games in 13 days when you win the division and you rest guys to get ready for the playoffs. That's what it is. Right there. You off that high grade, huh?
High grade marijuana called Kush on the streets.
SNL is going to be immediately after this. We're taking the party over there to the SNL channel. That's going to be in about 15 minutes with Stutz. Then we had a situation where Miami looked like they might be getting some momentum, but Will Anderson strip sack gives the Texans the momentum. You know the crazy thing about this Will Anderson thing? And I'll tell you what it is in a sec, but first let's cap off this drive. Nico Collins scores a massive TD to make it 10-3. And the Texans had to capitalize on these situations. Nick Caserio said that to me at his press conference 2 weeks ago. And the Texans capitalized. They take the 10-3 lead. But it all started with the Will Anderson strip sack. You know what's the crazy thing about the Will Anderson thing, though? And obviously, C.J. Stroud's the most important piece on this team. And C.J. Stroud, I don't think he has any problem playing within whatever the team needs. If the defense is going to carry the load and he's just going to have to take advantage of situational opportunities, I think C.J. Stroud is more than capable. But the craziest thing is, last year, one of the big discussions and one of the big talking points was, well, C.J. Stroud, thank God that you took C.J. Stroud over with the second pick and you drafted a quarterback. And I agree with that. But you can make a case that the other guy that they loved and that some believe that they might have had actually higher up on their board, you make a case Will Anderson's been the better player this year. That's not to say that it's still not the right choice, but I think that kind of shows too, when you talk about the trade back and you talk about the trade up, that was kind of like thank God they did this. And that's true. And they wouldn't be where they're at without CJ. But you can make a case, and this is probably a good seesaw to be on, where you're going back and forth with the two faces of that 2023 draft class. But you make a case Will Anderson's been the better player this year. And that's where you go back to complimentary football. A lot of time, complimentary football is like bailing out. If someone's not playing their best, then someone else does. Complimentary doesn't necessarily mean everything is gelling at the same time. When it is, that's great. On this team, that's a lot to ask, especially with the offense. But you can make that case, and I think you would have a strong case. Later on in the game, the Dolphins, they settled for 3 to make it 10-6. The defense holds up once again for the Texans. Tua just kind of little happy feet. Then we had at the end of the first half, and I thought this was an awful display by the Texans. I thought this was a really, really bad display by the Texans. It was as bad as you'll see offensively for Houston at the end of the second half. And I thought this was crazy. So little less than 2 minutes left. You have timeouts. And for whatever reason, the Texans are in no hurry at all. They get 6-7 yards on first down. They decide to let the play clock go nearly all the way down. Then Dalton Schultz, he leaves the field during the non-urgent end of the half drive. And after that, you see the Texans move the chains, and they still don't appear to be in a hurry. However, once they get the first down, all of a sudden it's like, well, we approach this without any urgency, and we just decided that we were now going to kind of awkwardly try to speed stuff up. And for some reason, the offensive line was ready. CJ wasn't. And you have the botch snap at the end of the first half, which could have led to Miami points and could have been a moment that we look back on. However, Tua returns the favor, and Kalen Bullock gets the interception. He takes it to the 5-yard line. Texans have 2 plays to get 5 yards. They're unable to do that, but they settle for a field goal rather than giving away points. And this was another example of the defense bailing out the offense. I don't know what that was at the end of the first half. And honestly, if you didn't want to attack Miami, just take it to the house. Don't pretend after you get 1 first down. Don't pretend. Just take it to the house because it was awkward and they ended up fumbling. Fortunately for them, Kalen Bullock did his thing. And Kalen Bullock's been doing his thing all year. And he took it down to the 5, and they took another 3 points. So in the first half, you had 10 points as a result of the Anderson strip, where the Texans were able to take advantage, and then you had the free 3 points after the offense stumbled. And that's how you went into halftime. But I don't know what the hell that was. I mean, that was awkward as hell. I mean, you look like you have no interest in scoring, and then all of a sudden say, oh, okay, oh, all right, let's go. And then CJ botches the play. Broncos doing their thing right now. LaFar Jackson, a.k.a. Anthony Richardson. He's on the payroll. He's with us. Interception. Or fumble by the Colts. The TD nullified, unsportsmanlike conduct, 15 yards enforced. So there you go. Broncos making a move inside Colts territory. We'll keep a close eye on that, see how that goes. Looks like it was a fumble, and we'll get a clearer picture once we get Cody here. So I think the lean on strengths was the thing that DeMeco and Caserio said this week. I thought it was on display at the end of the first half. Offense looks like it doesn't know what the fuck it's doing. And then after a mistake that if you're playing a really, really good team, which Miami is not, they might have capitalized on, your defense bails you out, your elite defense, and they give you the points. So that was the end of the first half. Then we go to the start of the second half. It wasn't a fumble, it was a TD. Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to follow along with this. Okay, just a TD. There you go. 24-13 Broncos. Looks like the Texans are on the fast track towards being division champs. How about that? That's crazy. If that happens, that's crazy. How about that? Ice up for Baltimore, too. Rest up. Swarm in the super chat. Gustavo, shout out to you, my friend.
You ain't never hate. Swarm.
Are the Texans at the stadium are at the stadium watching the Broncos game? We'll see if we can survive. Nah, they were out of that locker room, brother. This isn't like the Astros. They don't pop champagne bottles when they win divisions in football. Maybe ever so often. These guys are at home doing whatever the hell they want to do. Eating dinner on the couch, Netflix, chilling, whatever. That's what they're doing. But yeah, the offense makes me drop F-bombs. Because that was stupid. I don't know what that was at the end of the first half. That was goofy as hell. They had no desire to move the rock, and then all of a sudden they want to try to speed it up. It's terrible. Start of the second half, C.J. Stroud to Tank Dell. That extends the drive. Hell of a play, by the way. My gosh, across the body. Boom. C.J. Stroud. I mean, that is on the highlight reel. Might have been his best play of the season, to be honest with you. Maybe the Indianapolis first play of the 2-minute warning in week 1. But this was up there. And then John Mechie, my gosh. John Mechie. Opportunity to completely put this thing away and end it. And what does John Mechie do? He drops the ball. Drive ender. Then the Texans, they're near midfield. What is Frank Ross up to? Frank Ross, with the offense kind of stalling, he puts together a gem. Fake punt, Dare Gumbawale, rumbling, bumbling, stumbling, inside the red zone. Fumble. Nah, not a fumble. He was down. And then the penalty on the Dolphins puts it inside the 5. And then there's that dude again, Nico Collins, making it look easy. Almost looked bored catching that touchdown. Huh? Here you go. Handle my lightweight. Goes and hands it to a kid. Texans extend the lead to 20-6. At that point, you kind of feel like they're in big control. And then really, really awkward moment in the game. Grant DeBeau gets carted off. And it was a really wild scene because you normally have guys gathered around when that happens. But you could just tell something was wrong. You saw the Texans kind of shook up by it. You saw Miami shook up. You see the jersey getting cut off. They go to commercial break, really long break, and he gets carted off. Apparently, he's in stable condition. That's what the word was in the locker room after the game. Kalen Bullock seemed thrilled to hear that. But Grant DeBeau gets carted off. Scary moment in that one. In Miami, they have to continue. They end up. I think this was pretty much going to be the game, but the Texans penalties, timely penalties, been kind of a problem. The Miami Dolphins, they're lining up for 3, 4th and 7, down 14. How about that? They decide they're going to kick a field goal. I thought that was interesting. I don't know what the hell Mike McDaniel was thinking. Maybe he was hitting that
high-grade marijuana called Kush on the streets.
Don't blame you for it. But he kicks the field goal. It goes in, but we look. There's some laundry on the field. It's yellow. The referee says offside. So Mike McDaniel, let's go. He decides to go for it. And Tua, just with a dime, his best throw of the day to Jonnu Smith. By the way, 2 years, $8 million for Jonnu Smith. 2 years, 26 for Dalton Schultz, I think. I think that was Dalton Schultz's contract. Let's see, what was Dalton? I want to make sure I'm right on this. Dalton Schultz. Oh, 336. Jesus. I think 2's guaranteed, though. 336, 224. Jonnu Smith, 2 for 8. One of the best receiving tight ends in the game right now, a revival project. But they cut it to 8 because they missed the extra point. Then Miami driving. You're wondering, are the Texans going to waste this opportunity? Nah, Stingley's here. Derek Stingley with the interception. That kills Miami's attempt to tie the game. And then at the end of the game, another attempt for the Miami Dolphins because the Texans offense, by the way, I would have been okay with just running the ball near the 2-minute warning for the Texans. CJ Stroud got killed. Same result. Like as far as like not stopping the clock. I mean, they got CJ Stroud killed on that play. And then Miami got the ball, driving with the opportunity to tie. They needed the touchdown in the 2, but Derek Stingley ices it with a second interception. And from there, that was a wrap. And the Texans win. It looks like the Texans are in decent position to where they're going to be the AFC South champs. Indianapolis right now near midfield. Trying to make it interesting. Easier said than done, though, when you got LaFar Jackson at quarterback, a.k.a. Anthony Richardson. Not a fun guy to have back there. I'll tell you, not a fun guy to have back there. I can assure you of that. But they're trying to drive. They did have the comeback last week. So we'll keep an eye on that and see how that goes. But the Texans get the dub. Derek Stingley, they're calling him All-Pro Sting. I think they're probably going to get that. He's up there. And the secondary as a whole, you look at Kalen Bullock, he's playing good. He's an all-rookie guy. Kamari Lassiter, he's an all-rookie guy. And the defense is playing good. And this was, as I said earlier, this was a lean-on-strength game. Lean-on-strength. Defense. Special teams. Red zone offense. You can control red zone offense. This team isn't going to march up and down the field, but you can control red zone offense. And that's what they're doing. And that's what the Texans are doing, and that's how they're handling their business. Check it in with Cody Stutes, SNL. We're going to break this down. We're going to hear from players. We were both in the locker room. We'll hear from the players, the top contributors in the game that you may not hear from as much. We'll hear from them. How much is Stingley going to get paid? As much as any corner in the game. I mean, he's been fully healthy this year too. It's interesting, though, because that was kind of the question before. Maybe this kind of cancels it out. Maybe they meet in the middle. But he's going to break bread. There's no doubt. The last 2 drives of the fourth, the O-line let CJ get sacked on 3rd down both drives. Absolutely ridiculous. Why does Chris Strausser still have a job? I don't know if it's Chris Strausser or if it's just the guys themselves. I mean, I don't know if it's just him. So I don't know that I would necessarily blame him for that. Tim Settle is a beast. He's crazy as hell too. Timmy Time is crazy. He's hilarious. But he's not messing around. He kind of brings that attitude that a lot of people have wanted with this squad a long time. And he's got it. He talks that talk, and he's been walking that walk. And there were jokes, man. I was one of them. I was joking around. Texans settle for Tim Settle. They damn sure haven't right now. The way they're playing. Playing really, really well. We'll get to SNL in a little bit. Maybe. Probably like 10 minutes. We'll figure that out. We'll get Stoots in the mix on the SNL channel. But let's look around the league. The games that impact the Texans. If you're getting greedy and you're starting to feel that there are division title vibes in the league, are in H-Town, and Indianapolis just, I believe, turned the ball over on downs. Or did they just straight up turn the ball? Yeah, 4th and 6. Anthony Richardson pass incomplete. So Denver has the ball. It is 24-13. That one's looking pretty good. If you want to get greedy about that 3 seed, we talked about Pittsburgh and their tough schedule. Right now, Philadelphia in firm control of that one. So you can start looking up at that. Baltimore might be a little bit tougher to catch. Just a little. Just a tatty tad. Baltimore. But that's where that is. And then the Colts Broncos right now. I mean, the Colts are in as much as things change, the more they stay the same. Ever since Andrew Luck retired on that day that the Texans were facing the Cowboys in the preseason, ever since they retired, or ever since Luck retired, they've had trouble with the quarterback. Very, 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 very big trouble with the quarterback. And they're still there. They're going to have to figure that out. Because I don't know how much more you push this out. That's a backup. For sure. No doubt about that. And we'll keep you posted on that as well. We also got some spam in the chat. But the big thing, this was a lean on. And then Will Levis, a.k.a. Gosh Allen, LaFar Jackson, Anthony Richardson over there in Indianapolis. And then we got Will Levis, a.k.a. Gosh Allen. He's in the Christmas spirit. You got to give him some credit. Christmas is 10 days away, and he wanted Rudolph to get some reps before he guides Santa's sleigh, a.k.a. Mason Rudolph. Will Levis, bench. Yeah, I don't know about that one. We'll have to see how that goes. All right, let's go over to SNL. SNL, the channel is popping. The channel is absolutely popping. Go over to the SNL channel. We are about we are 1,500 deep. It's only going to get better. Let's hear from the Texans players live in the SNL channel. Cody Stoots is there. He's going to hold it down, and we're going to go over there. So be sure to subscribe to the SNL channel. Go on over. Get this super chat before. When is the NFL going to start penalizing QBs for them hospital thrown to wide receivers? That play by Bullock was done on him. Should get fined. Okay. Well, I don't know. He's probably going to get fined. Suspended, don't know. But get your ass over to SNL. SNL, myself, Cody Stoots, we got you covered. Appreciate y'all for coming through. Always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. We might be talking AFC South champs sooner rather than later. Take your ass over to SNL and be sure to subscribe while you're there. And always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Now to Cody Stutes at SNL. I'll be there shortly.